Yo, five that diesel.
What's going on, CK Nation?
How we do it out here.
Welcome to another exciting episode of CK Motorsports Full Throttle. And on this episode, we got a lot to cover this weekend, from the high banks of Charlotte to the legendary bricks at Indianapolis. This week was full of emotional moments, with us losing Kyle Busch to honoring our veterans in the biggest crown jewel race of them all and the longest race of the year, the Coca-Cola 600. And who can also forget an unforgettable Indy 500 finish in the entire world, just honoring Kyle Busch. We break this down, and the biggest winners, toughest crashes, late races drama, and what it all means move forward. So strap in and hold on, because we're all gas, no brakes, and we're going full throttle. So let's get to it. Alright, welcome everyone, like I said, to another episode of the Full Throttle. I'm your boy, the boss man, CK. So, what a Memorial Day weekend we just witnessed across the racing world. I mean, you had everything from weather not cooperating, to us losing a legend, to two of the most iconic races going on in the same day, with the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indianapolis 500. Man, what a, I would say, great weekend for racing. But like I said, we all had heavy hearts as we were heading into this weekend with losing Kyle Busch. The emotion throughout NASCAR garage was probably impossible to ignore, as drivers, crews, and fans honored Kyle Busch. As you saw in some of the videos that were posted, the crews waited until they unloaded Kyle Busch's car, which is now known as the 33 instead of the 8, because of Richard Childress putting out the statement that he would partially suspend the running of the number 8 until Brexton was ready to go, which I think was very classy in his part of doing. So, great job, Richard. I give you props for that. And also the tributes were just everywhere, from decals on the race cars to emotional moments and driver introductions. Every truck, I think, had a KBM sticker on it, or had Rowdy in the car, or had Kyle Busch's signature on it. Even across the whole race, you saw some cars, let me know. We them city boys know where to go. We also see cars repainted their style. Kicking up dust. Let's go. Nowhere to go. At the same time, though, racing did deliver some huge moments. The Truck Series gave an aggressive, short-running racing. Yes, we tried to get it in on Friday. Rain didn't hold out. Tried to get it in again on Saturday. Rain didn't hold out. We got it in on Sunday morning. But unfortunately, I think this is the first time ever we've had a race cut short by time frame. And there were a few drivers, such as Caden Honeycutt, that weren't happy with that. Caden Honeycutt stated after the race was over that, hey, if we're going to run races on time frame, we don't need to run them at all. We should have just waited till Monday. The O'Reilly Series put on a wild show, obviously, with everything going on. And then they raced in the fog. Yes, you heard me right. They raced in the fog. That was pretty interesting. Don't know whose call that was to try to get that all in. But that's what we got, was racing in the fog once we got going, once the weather kind of held off. But also, again, just as the truck race had the time thing cut them short, the weather cut the O'Reilly's race short. The Cup Series survived the weather strategy battles and late chaos during the Coca-Cola 600 play part. But again, weather did in the end win. And we saw our winner get crowned last night, which we'll get into that on a rain-shortened race. And also, the Cup cars didn't get to practice. The field was set by qualifying. Qualifying was set by like points or metrics or whatever. So we didn't know what, and drivers didn't know what the cars were going to do on a fresh green track. Then when you look at Indianapolis, the Indy 500 somehow managed to top it all off with one of the greatest finishes in racing history, and probably one of the closest finishes, with the winner going to victory lane by 55 feet. So, yeah. So, again, let's get into some more stuff of that. So, we talked about the NASCAR Truck Series. We tried to get that race in Friday night. Weather just was not playing with it. Also, I think if you were if you were a Rowdy Nation fan that night, you were all rooting for Corey Joy Corey Day, not Corey Joy, Corey Day in that 7 truck to do well for Rowdy. And he was running pretty smooth, was doing really well. Then he had a late race incident that he almost flipped the truck and he ended up getting taken out. But overall, it was a great race. Like I said, we had some drivers like Corey or Caden Honeycutt who weren't too happy with the race being cut short by time frame, because NASCAR said, look, we don't want to interfere with the viewership of what's going on with the Indianapolis 500. This race will be done no matter how far we're into it by 12 o'clock. And they held their word to that. And fortunately for Lane Riggs and the Front Row Motorsports Group, they went to victory lane. So congratulations to Lane Riggs on that. Very classy as well. You can see the emotion in him, being upset over Kyle Busch passing away. He did give the legendary bow, which I thought was really awesome. So congratulations to him and that group over there at Front Row. And I will say this, the Truck Series battle for the championship is going to be pretty good, folks. I think it's going to come down to Caden Honeycutt and Lane Riggs at the end. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Right now, Caden Honeycutt only has 11-point lead on Lane Riggs. So we'll see. We're getting into summertime, the stretch. So we'll see what happens. Especially when the points reset, when the playoffs start. Or, I'm sorry, chase for the championship starts. Then when you look at the O'Reilly series, we had some action Saturday night. Like I said, they had to go on the rain delay for a while. They finally got it going, and next thing you know, here we are. We are racing in the fog. Yes, you heard me right. We were racing in the fog on Saturday night. Don't know whose idea it was to keep that going, but it made for some great racing, and then it made for problems for teams such as Justin Allgaier getting into oil that they thought was cleaned up and spat the fence, and he was a top contender. Other guys, too, getting into it. A couple of the Joe Gibbs guys wrecking. But at the end, like I said, Justin Allgaier looked strong. Austin Hill showed somewhat speed in the 21. Sam Mayer remained somewhat aggressive till he got wrecked. But at the end of the day, it was a Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain, and Junior's number 9 going the victory lane. And it was pretty cool to see that he gave Kyle Busch the bow as well, and then slammed the Watermelon. So, again, when you look at the O'Reilly series, and you sit here and you wonder what the top 3 teams are in the O'Reilly series right now, I would definitely have to say, and I'm not being biased because I like Junior, but JRM is looking strong. RCR is looking strong. Believe it or not, I'm actually surprised by this. Haas Factory team is looking pretty strong. So we got some solid contenders that could be battling it out for the championship come chase time. Then we get to the granddaddy of them all, the Coca-Cola 600. Sunday at Charlotte, which carried a completely different atmosphere. This Coke 600 meant something more. Yes, we had where we were remembering our veterans, which, by the way, happy Memorial Day to everybody out there, or Memorial Week. But it was also something that we all knew we needed. And that was, we needed a way to heal from losing Kyle Busch. And racing the Coca-Cola 600 was the way to do that. Even though we had the celebration of our veterans and the cars were painted up in so many cool patriotic schemes, we all still had heavy hearts. We knew we had heavy hearts because of what we lost. The Coca-Cola 600 remains one of the toughest on the NASCAR schedule, with 600 miles, which is equivalent on that track to 400 laps. Changing track conditions from racing from starting in the daytime to racing to nighttime is mentally and physically exhausting and fatigue on a driver. Charlotte tests every driver, crew chief, and team before engines fired. So it was going to be a tough battle. Especially before the engines fired, the emotional tributes honoring Kyle Busch was one of the defining moments of the weekend, I think. Fans stood silently during ceremonies. Drivers embraced one another around pit road. We all saw the drivers come together behind the big black number 8 that they had painted on the infield and stood behind the Busch family. And mind you, this is the first time since his passing we had seen Kurt, his mom and dad, and definitely since we had seen Samantha, Brexton, Lennox, and since we had seen RCR. So everybody, in a way, everybody's eyes were on them. And I want to say this, I think NASCAR President Steve Phelps handled that ceremony phenomenally. The things that he said, I think, touched everybody. From telling Samantha that, which was the truth, that even the families at the track, the families on pit road, the families watching around the world, we're all your family. We're all one big NASCAR family. We're one big family. And if Samantha, if you ever watch this, you have the CK Nation support as well. I think a lot of us could say and agree with that. She has the CK Motorsports Nation behind her. So, one thing I do want to point out about that situation as well is I was impressed with how Brexton handled condoling his mom. Some would say he had mentally removed himself from that situation. Some would say that he was being strong for his mother. Whatever you may think or have an opinion on, I give that boy props for standing there and being strong and showing what we hope wouldn't be, but showing emotion but not emotion, and comforting his mother and comforting his sister. That was phenomenal on his part. Also, to see the family, NASCAR family, come together with different drivers' wives hugging Samantha, and then you see Owen Larson, Kyle Larson's son, hugging Brexton. I thought was really, really cool. Really cool. And then to watch Kurt Busch give the tribute that he did by laying 8 white roses across the number 8, I thought that was very, very good on his part. And I wanted to point out another thing that I wanted to make clear. So, a couple of years ago, and up till now, I've talked junk about Corey LaJoie. I've said Corey LaJoie sucks in a race car, which the stats don't lie about that. But I just wanted to say this: if you watch Corey LaJoie, I don't know if you ever watched this. A lot of you guys, I don't know if you'll watch this or not. But I can say this, that I have respect for you. After what I saw you do Sunday in the post or the pre-race show, I have mad respect for you. For you to sit there and take what I would find extremely difficult in front of millions of people, not knowing how people feel about religion or anything like that, because that can be a sensitive subject at times, but feeling the need to do what I feel like we all kind of needed. And that was say a prayer for everyone in the Busch family and everybody around the world on national TV. I give you mad props for that, Corey LaJoie, and you have my respect. I don't care how you drive from here on out in trucks, cars, whatever. You have my respect, buddy. And there's a lot of drivers out there that I don't really have that fanship for. because I felt like they didn't do much in the sport. But you, my friend, no matter how you do from here on out in the trucks, which I think you're doing really phenomenal at colleague, either way, you have my respect for that, because that takes a lot to me, in my opinion, to get on and pray like that. So kudos to you, Corey LaJoy, for doing that. Great job, buddy. And I think we can all agree that you get the thumbs up for that. As I said, we had the Coca-Cola 600 that night, and it was rain shortened, but we did have Daniel Suarez went to victory lane. Daniel Suarez, amigo, great job, because I feel like, in a way, even though this is your first win this season and it was rain shortened, I still feel like, in a way, by the numbers that you're showing this year, and I think maybe y'all can agree with me on this, CK Nation, Suarez is having one of his best seasons at Spire. Who would have thought he would go to Spire and have the season he's having? Because I thought he was finished after he was pretty much, be real about it, he was pretty much forced out, because we all knew Connor Zillage was going to get that ride. But I feel like this man stepped up. Amigo's done what he's had to do, and he's running solid. So keep it up, Amigo, and good job on the Coca-Cola 600 win, man. That's very phenomenal. You can add your name to the list of those who won that crown jewel race. So great job, buddy, on that. As I said, let's take a few more moments honoring Kyle Busch. Throughout the weekend, tributes honoring Kyle Busch remained the center of the motorsport world. Drivers shared stories about competing with Busch. Crew chiefs reflected on relentless driving style. Fans remembered unforgettable victories that he did in NASCAR, 234 of them. Busch built one of the most impressive careers in modern stock car racing. His ability to win across NASCAR divisions separated him from everybody else in the garage. That's why I can sit here and tell you guys that I will never argue with anybody that says he's the GOAT. I will never argue with you about that. I truly believe, and I'm not saying this, and like I said on the episode that you guys have seen before, I'm not saying this because he died. I'm saying this because it's a fact. Kyle Busch is one of the GOATs of NASCAR. Also, it was great to see IndyCar's teams also honoring Kyle Busch. Like I stated earlier, one of them painted the 18 in the style that he had at Joe Gibbs. So that was phenomenal to see. Now we had the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indianapolis 500. Every year the Indy 500 carries massive expectations. Somehow this year's race still exceeded them. The atmosphere was electric. More than 300,000 fans, 300,000, packed out the Brickyard to watch one of the iconic races. This race, if you're not a motorsports fan and you're just getting into it, be understanding that this race right here is Indy's version of the Daytona 500. It is iconic. If you win this race, it is legendary. You will be in a legendary status. Cars ran in inches apart at over 220 miles an hour. One small mistake could end a driver's day instantly, as we saw with Catherine Legge trying to complete the double. Got caught up in Ryan Hunter-Reay's mess, and her day was over. Look at Alexander Rossi. That man drove that car with a broken foot. If his engine doesn't expire, he might have finished top 10, maybe even won it. That's how important this Indy 500 is to the drivers. It's the biggest race for them of the year, and they know to be somebody, you got to win it. Like I said, Joseph Newgarden looked strong. Pato Ward remained aggressive, and at the end, with the closest IndyCar victory in history, Felix Rosenqvist won it. So, mad props to him, and congratulations, Felix, because now you're going to be a legend in Indy, because you can be said as one of the ones that won the Indy 500. So, congratulations to you, buddy, on that one. I think the biggest stories of the weekend that you look at for this past weekend is first, Daniel Suarez capturing an emotional Coca-Cola 600. Over everything that was going on, with us losing Kyle Busch and Daniel Suarez being brought into sport and being buddies with Kyle Busch, you knew it was going to be emotional for him. And he cried when he got out the car. So yes. Ross Chastain, next was, again, another Kyle Busch guy in Lane Riggs, getting the win in the Truck Series. And then Ross Chastain capping it off in the O'Reilly Series with his win. And last but not least, Felix Rosenqvist winning one of the world's wildest Indianapolis 500s and closest margins ever. But beyond the result, I think the biggest storyline that we all can take away from this is that we were all in unity this weekend. The motorsports world came together throughout the weekend to honor Rowdy Kyle Busch. NASCAR, IndyCar, drivers, teams, fans. Everyone shared the same respect and appreciation of one of racing's most influential competitors. The emotional connection reminded us why motorsports means so much to people. As NASCAR heads deeper into the summer stretch where the playoff pressure or chase pressure starts, increasing every single week, I do want to take this moment and say, let's not forget Rowdy. Yes, we're not going to forget him fully. We're not. But let's not forget how this brought us together again. Because I think that's what happened when Senior died back in 2001. We all cried, we all enjoyed, we all came together for a couple of weeks. And then after that, we kind of act like, I wouldn't say we act like nothing happened, but we kind of came from this to a little bit. And we all divided again. Your driver sucks. No, your driver sucks. Or this or that. At the end of the day, CK Nation, no matter who you root for or what you do, when you go to the racetrack, let's just keep that unity together. And let's, as Cletus would say, do it for Dale, be like Bill. And now let's drive like Rowdy. And let's keep the unity going. So, with that being said, I just want to say thank you again, guys, for tuning in this weekend. Like I said, this week in the motorsports world was rough. But we're all here together. We're all going to continue to move forward. We're going to root Brexton on when he's ready to run. And we're going to continue to just live and keep enjoying NASCAR. Also, thank you guys again for supporting, following, and subscribing to my channels. Like I said, you guys are phenomenal. We are over 50 subscribers now on the YouTube. So we need to keep that growing, but that's phenomenal. And we are over 100 on TikTok. So you guys are freaking phenomenal. Keep the nation growing. Keep the support going, man. I do this for y'all. I don't do this just to do this. I do this for y'all and to have and show the passion that all of us have for motorsports. So with that being said, I'm the boss man CK. This is another episode of CK Motorsports Full Throttle. And remember, we're all gas, no brakes, and we're always in the throttle for Kyle. See y'all again.
Turn the night into day. City slicker see us coming and get out of the way. They're sipping on lattes. We're cracking the cold one. Life in the fast lane. Now we're just having